What if I told you that a single-aisle plane is about to shake up global aviation in a way few could have imagined? It all started quietly on June 15, 2022. Without much media fanfare or dramatic set, Airbus A321XLR lifted off for its maiden test flight, just 4.5 hours gliding over Europe. To most onlookers, it seemed like any other routine, A321s, but in reality, that humble takeoff signaled a seismic shift in commercial aviation, because this isn't just another minor tweak in airplane design. This is a fundamental reimagining. A narrow-body jet that can fly nearly as far as much larger, twin-aisle aircraft, but at a fraction of the cost. So, why is this aircraft sending shockwaves through airline boardrooms? And why do so many insiders call it the most strategically important jet of the decade? Let's rewind a bit to see how we arrived at this point. A brief history, from early jetliners to the wide-body boom. When the jet age first took off, crossing the Atlantic didn't require gigantic aircraft. In fact, early pioneers like the Boeing 707 and Douglas DC-8, both single-aisle planes, routinely made transatlantic hops without breaking a sweat. These sleek, long-legged jets defied their modest size. But the 1970s ushered in the golden era of enter the mighty 747, the Trigid DC-10, and Lockheed's L1011 TriStar. Two aisles, cavernous interiors, and belly holds that could swallow freight by the ton. Airbus stepped into this world with the A300, its first widebody, back in 1974. Yet it was a pivotal decision in 1984 that changed Airbus' destiny, launching the A320 program. Two outsiders. It looked like just another narrow-body to rival Boeing's ever-popular 737, but that move laid the groundwork for what would become the most successful aircraft family ever built. The relentless drive for efficiency. Why are airlines so laser-focused on fuel savings? Well, fuel typically eats up around 30% of an airline's operating costs. Even shaving off a single percent can mean millions saved each year. By 2010, with oil prices climbing and environmental pressures mounting, Airbus unveiled the A320neo family. This wasn't just a subtle refresh. The new Pratt & Whitney PW1000G and CFML EAP-1A engines delivered a stunning 15 to 20% fuel burn improvement. Emissions dropped, noise footprints halved, and airline CFOs breathed a little easier. The A319, A320, and A321 all got the Neo treatment. Only the smallest sibling, the A318, was left out. Its sales too weak to justify the upgrade. From long range to extra long range, then came a turning point in 2018. Airbus rolled out the A321LR long range. By adding 3 auxiliary center tanks below the cabin floor, it stretched the aircraft's reach to about 4,000 nautical miles. Combined with ETOPS 180 approval, it meant this single-aisle workhorse could fly up to 3 hours from the nearest diversion airport, even if one engine failed. Suddenly, transatlantic routes that once demanded wide bodies were fair game. But airlines being airlines, they soon wanted even more. What if you could take a narrow body and push it to the absolute edge of possibility? That's where the A321XLR, extra long range, comes in. Unveiled at the 2019 Paris Air Show, the XLR promised an unprecedented range of 4,700 nautical miles. Picture flights like London to Delhi, Singapore to Tokyo, or Perth to the Maldives. All doable in a single-aisle jet. The ingenious engineering breakthrough. How did Airbus pull this off? The answer lies in the new rear center tank, or RCT. Unlike the removable tanks in the XLR's RCT is a permanent, integrated structure just after the wing box. It replaces 4 standard auxiliary tanks, yet weighs roughly the same as one and occupies the space of just 2. The result? Far more fuel capacity, without eating into precious cargo space. More range, more payload flexibility, more opportunities to rethink route networks. What happens to wide bodies now? This raises a big question. If a narrow body can fly these kinds of routes, what does it mean for traditional wide-body operations? It's not just low-cost airlines jumping on this trend. The XLR has already racked up over 550 orders spanning every business model imaginable, legacy giants, boutique premium carriers, and budget upstarts alike. Why? Because it offers unmatched flexibility. Take Air. During peak summer, they might deploy their A330s between Dublin and New York. But come winter, when demand softens, they can switch to the XLR and keep the route profitable year. Or look at JetBlue's transatlantic ambitions. Their A321LR seat only 138 people, fewer than some regional jets, to allow space for mint suites, offering a boutique long-haul experience at a fraction of a wide-body's operating cost. The great trade-off: range versus cargo, of course. Every breakthrough comes with the A321LR's extra tanks eat into cargo hold space, forcing airlines into tough choices. More fuel for longer flights, or preserve cargo capacity for baggage and freight. Many opted to reduce seating and emphasize premium cabins, cutting down passenger bags to make room. It worked, but wasn't ideal. Things got even trickier after 2020. With passenger numbers down, air freight became a lifeline. Belly cargo revenue sometimes made up 40% of an airline's income on certain routes, with yields spiking to over $5 per kilogram, triple pre-pandemic levels. Suddenly, sacrificing cargo for fuel didn't seem so smart. Why the XLR's tank design is a game changer? This is precisely why the XLR's integrated tank is such a revelation. By embedding fuel capacity into the aircraft structure, Airbus preserved valuable belly space. Airlines don't have to pick between flying farther or hauling revenue-generating freight. They can do both. Think of it as a modern spiritual successor to the beloved Boeing 757, that unicorn aircraft with impressive range and airport versatility, but with 25% better fuel burn in 21st century systems. The 757 may have bowed out of production 2 decades ago, but its absence left a gap that the XLR is now perfectly poised to fill. The safety hurdles no one talks about, but innovation rarely comes without headaches. Europe's aviation regulator, EASA, flagged concerns about the XLR's RCT. The tank sits in what engineers call the crush zone, the part of the fuselage designed to deform in a belly landing. Their question was stark. In a gear-up crash, could the tank stay intact, preventing catastrophic fuel leaks? Airbus had to redesign the lower fuselage fairings, potentially swapping lightweight composites for tougher materials that better absorb impact. These structural tweaks added roughly 9 to 12 months of delays, but were critical for ensuring the XLR meets the highest safety standards. Entering service, the XLR takes to the skies. Even with these delays, airlines wasted no time. By late 2024, Iberia had started flying XLRs between Madrid and key U.S. cities like Boston and D.C., reporting remarkably quiet cabins, robust performance, and fuel savings that delighted their finance teams. Aer Lingus has followed suit, deploying XLRs on routes like Dublin to Minneapolis. JetBlue plans to extend its transatlantic reach, connecting East Coast U.S. cities to smaller European destinations that can't justify a wide. Air Canada sees opportunities from Toronto to places like Malaga and Latum is eyeing new direct connections from northern Brazil to southern Europe, bypassing traditional hubs. Meanwhile, American Airlines will soon phase XLRs into premium transcontinental service before expanding them overseas, with cabin designs featuring next-gen business class suites. New routes, new possibilities. Imagine the possibilities. Non-stop flights from Kansas City to Frankfurt, Chennai to Nairobi, or Perth to the Maldives. Markets that once needed the heft of a twin-aisle now become viable with a single-aisle long-range jet. And let's not overlook sustainability. The XLR burns roughly 30% less fuel per seat than the previous generation of aircraft flying similar routes. In an era of carbon scrutiny, that's a compelling advantage. What comes next? Boeing, for its part, doesn't have an obvious answer. The 737 MAX, with its narrower fuselage, can't easily accommodate large auxiliary tanks. The stretched MAX 10 still falls far short on range. Meanwhile, Boeing's proposed new mid-market airplane meant to be a modern 757 replacement is stuck in strategic limbo. That could hand Airbus a 5 to 7 year head start. An eternity in aviation, enough to cement the XLR as the gold standard in this segment. The passenger trade-off. So, what about passengers? The upside is obvious. Direct flights between secondary cities without having to slog through mega hubs. The downside, a narrower cabin, meaning more elbow bumping on those 7 to 8 hour flights. Airlines will have to carefully balance seat density with comfort. Business class cabins can still be excellent. Just look at JetBlue or Aer Lingus. But there are undeniable constraints compared to wide-body space. The dawn of a new era is this, the beginning of the end for the hub-and-spoke model. Quite possibly, as Iliages proliferate, we'll see more direct point-to-point flights, even from airports without wide-body infrastructure. For passengers, it means faster, more convenient journeys. For smaller airports, it means new international connections, without investing in giant terminals. What's clear is this, we're witnessing not a temporary blip, but a profound restructuring of how aviation connects the world. The pandemic may have accelerated it, but the trend was already underway. If you found this deep dive into the A321XLR and the future of long-haul travel insightful, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more content on how aviation is reshaping our planet. And tell me in the comments, which city pair would you love to see connected by one of these revolutionary jets? Thanks for watching. See you in the skies.